Working full-time in the Web3 gaming space for a year now has taught me a lot about the reality of the gaming business. One thing that I'm learning above all else is that it's really, really hard to create and launch a successful video game. There's so much talk about how Web3 gaming is the next big thing in crypto and how it's going to drive the next bull market. And while this may be true, it is also true that each individual game building in the space right now has a massive challenge. Trying to be one of the games that makes it and survives and thrives in the next bull run for the market is not easy. In fact, it's extremely difficult. Especially now, since first mover advantage is real, and games like Gods Unchained or even Sky Mavis's Axie ecosystem are already dominating the, crypto gaming category or NFT gaming or Web3 gaming, whatever you want to call it. That lane already has the first mover advantage locked in for those kinds of games. It's really hard for new games in 2023 to break in and become that game that really might make a difference. Which brings me to today's unfortunate story. Just 1 month after launch, the game Emergence TCG is shutting down. So just to clarify here, Emergence is the game, InterPop is the company that was developing the game, and for both of their Twitter pages, the last tweet is this: "As of today, we've made the difficult decision to end development of InterPop games and close their marketplace." More information here, but it's a very generic announcement. This decision wasn't easy and is one no creator wants to make. Now, they will be refunding the purchases of all the stuff they sold, so that's good. That's a big dub. And then, we're grateful for the hard work and creativity of everyone involved. And we're thankful to our fans, and we still believe in Web3. So that news was posted on Friday evening last week around 5 o'clock in the evening in my time zone in Philadelphia. So afternoon on the West Coast, evening on the East Coast, and nighttime for Europe. Basically, the end of the work week, right when everyone stops working. They were clearly looking to avoid a lot of publicity, posting it when most people wouldn't be paying attention. I have been active personally in the Emergence gamer community. There hasn't been a ton of people, but those of us who like the game, we've been hanging out, we've been playing games, we've been talking. And so I can confirm none of us had any idea what the fuck was going on. They posted this announcement on Twitter, and they posted a link in the Discord announcements channel, and that was it. The staff was AWOL. They were unable to be found. There was no clarification. Just, a dozen people all going, "What the fuck? What happened? Wait, did they really close it down?" And just no response. We were really confused. So what the fuck happened, right? Why did they announce the game's launch only to shut it down a month later with no promotion? The following information is purely speculative. It's my opinion only. This is just me, Flux, talking about some shit, giving you my opinion, okay? Just my opinion. So where did I get information? Where did I even find out? There was a thread on Reddit. A user named Tomic45 posted WTF with Emergence Tezos Foundation. And the Tezos Foundation is the foundation that basically manages all the investments around Tezos. I'm not going to try to explain exactly how it works, but they basically control a lot of the money and where it goes in the ecosystems. That's who the Tezos Foundation is. There's a similar foundation for other blockchains as well. And a lot of these foundations get into drama. Just a couple weeks ago, the Arbitrum Layer 2 on Ethereum, for example, had massive drama. It's pretty normal to have drama around these things. This guy basically said, "What the hell? Emergence," I'll just read a little bit of this. "Emergence swallowed millions of dollars and it's closing a month after being out. The thing was still in beta. The launch was clearly underwhelming." This person says, "Basic functionality for the game was missing. No in-game story, no solo mode." And then basically just going on to say they're mad that why is the Tezos Foundation, quote unquote, throwing money at every failed project. So the founder of Tezos, Arthur B., actually posted a long response and gave some information explaining what happened. So I'm going to use this information and explain to y'all what went down. I'm just not going to go through the responses because they're kind of long. I'll just explain it to you in a summarized fashion, but that's where this information is coming from. So here's what happened with Emergence TCG as far as I can piece it together. Let's start with InterPop. InterPop is a superhero universe created by a prominent Magic the Gathering player and community member named Brian David Marshall. He's been trying to make a game around this InterPop intellectual property for many years, having already made a deck builder under the Emergence name in years past. In case you're curious, this is from Elio's Twitter. This is what the deck building game looked like. As you can see, this is a pretty high effort thing. So this is, the Emergents TCG was not the first rodeo. They already had this Emergence Genesis deck building game, which, to be honest, I didn't even know about when I first found out about the TCG. So it's been around for a while. Emergence TCG, a trading card in the InterPop universe where the cards are NFTs on the Tezos blockchain, was greenlit and funded during the 2021 bull market. I don't know the exact terms of the funding, but rumor has it, and just the situation makes it seem like these were probably business loans that needed to be paid back at some point. That seems to be the case. They could have been grants, I guess, but it's a lot of money, so it seems like it was a loan from what I understand. So at first, everything seems cool. InterPop does a bunch of comic books as NFTs on Tezos. This is actually the first time I ever used the Tezos blockchain, was to claim a free InterPop comic book NFT back in 2021. So, I mean, they did make some waves, make some noise, get some attention with this project. I noticed it before I was even working for Blockborn, before I was really involved in Tezos. The comics were plausible. They weren't the most original superhero stuff, but at least it was pretty well done. And Emergence TCG was teased and developed starting in 2021 for about 2 years until early 2023. I played an early beta of the game in 2022, which was fun, but a bit confusing. 6 months later, I tried it again, and I was really impressed by the game design. Once they added in a good tutorial, the whole game design philosophy started to click in my mind, and I was like, yo, this is actually a very cool card game. Long story short, Emergence TCG combined the best aspects of Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! To create a really novel energy system, as well as something called the wildcard system. Those things being combined with face-down trap cards and other just TCG shenanigans that led to the experience being really fun, really fresh, and feeling very different from the other leaders of the digital TCG space, stuff like Hearthstone or even Gods Unchained. In spite of the fresh game design for Emergence TCG, it is no secret that it is almost impossible to launch a successful TCG. After all, Gwent, featured in The Witcher 3 and spun off into a standalone card game, just announced it is shutting down in early 2024, and other TCGs have famously failed in the past. I think Artifact is an example of a big one that just totally flopped. Especially in Web3, there's been a lot of TCGs because, hey, TCGs are apparently one of the easiest kinds of games to make. I mean, at the base level, you make some monsters, some spells, and some, other kind of thing, like artifacts or whatever. You give some 1/1s, some 2/2s, some 3/3s, some 3/2s. This creature buffs that creature, blah, blah, blah. You basically got a game pretty quickly. There are exceptions, such as Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap launched not that long ago. I don't know, what was it, 6 months ago, maybe closer to a year ago. And it's been extremely successful. But Marvel Snap is one hell of an exception with a huge budget and some of the world's biggest intellectual property. It's literally Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. These are characters that have been marketed and promoted for half a century or more. So yeah, Marvel Snap is an exception, but it's like if Disney makes a TCG, which I've seen some headlines about, sure, that might be different. If Nintendo launches a new TCG, sure, that might get some attention. Overall, though, the market is still quite saturated. Now, in the case of Emergence TCG with InterPop, they tried to launch a trading card game themed around superheroes into a market that is oversaturated in both superheroes and trading card games. Even putting aside Marvel Snap, which came out 6 months before Emergence, really unfortunate timing, there's just the basic phenomenon of superhero fatigue or Marvel fatigue. People have gotten really tired of the cookie cutter Marvel superhero formula for movies and TV shows, And that fatigue has sort of covered the whole idea of superheroes. Superheroes is really been done to death. So a superhero TCG, especially after Marvel Snap already exists, is a very, very challenging game to bring to the market. Making matters worse, the rumor is that InterPop spent as much as $7 million to make this game before it launched. $7 million. I'm actually thinking, just speculating, that this could be why Emergence was launched so suddenly. It was a little odd. I was happy when they announced the launch because I was like, all right, let's go. Let's start to do stuff. But it was kind of odd timing because the launch of the game didn't correspond with any new features. The quest system still wasn't working. In fact, the quest system never worked until they shut it down. And there wasn't really like a big marketing push. It was just kind of like one day they all of a sudden announced it was launched, but nothing had really changed. Maybe that's because they were running out of money. Maybe the reason they launched with basic features like quests not working and without a ton of marketing, or with almost no marketing, maybe that's because they were just almost out of money. Whatever it was, they launched, but with relatively little fanfare. There was some, retweets and likes and comments on the first day in the Tezos Twitter ecosystem. But other than that, the marketing for the game was primarily two things. The Emergence Twitter account tweeting images of the cards with little bits of, extra flavor text and getting a little bit of likes and stuff, but not a lot of traction. And then there was a few sponsored streams of Twitch streamers, such as Brian Kibler, who's a very well-known player in Hearthstone and Magic, as well as Jim Davis, who also plays Hearthstone and Magic and has a pretty good community. There's also a Gods Unchained streamer named Sam Bam, who I'm a big fan of. They also sponsored him, which I was happy to see. Now, these streamers are reaching concurrent viewership of anywhere from 100 to 1,000 viewers, with Sam being more around the 100 range and Brian Kibler being around the 1,000. So definitely some decently sized streams, and each stream was sponsored for between 2 to 4 sessions. So once a week, I believe I saw Sam do 2 weeks, and I believe Brian Kibler and Jim Davis did 4 weeks of 2-hour sponsored streams once a week. So definitely not nothing. But when you sponsor streamers, that's only one part of a marketing campaign. You really need to do multiple things at the same time. So you need the Twitch sponsorships to go along with tournaments that are running, to go along with YouTube videos coming out from content creators in the community, to go along with maybe some business-related content going out, talking about how you made the game, how you funded the game, put that stuff on LinkedIn, maybe some memes and just some silly stuff that goes on YouTube Shorts, TikToks. Like, you really need the whole picture, and you need to hit all at once. So, and it's not easy, but that's generally the more places you can be at once, the more of a sudden, all at once splash you can make. That's really how you can make that money get its value. That's how you can get your return on your marketing dollars. And unfortunately, in Emergence case, they did these stream sponsorships, but they had just nothing else going on. Just a Discord and a Twitter page that weren't super, super poppin'. And those things by themselves are not enough to be exciting. So I think some people who might have seen those sponsored streams could have been interested, but I definitely don't think there was a maximum amount of conversion from those streams. It was a good start, but it was just the beginning of what should have been a much larger marketing campaign. Making a long story very short, the marketing was not successful, and as far as I know, the highest selling card in the game only sold, unfortunately, about 50 copies. They did have a really cool system where instead of selling booster packs, they just sold individual cards for between $1 to $10, and you could buy the singles, the individual cards you wanted, straight from the company. I actually really liked that because you didn't have to gamble on booster packs. However, the best-selling card only sold 50 copies. They realistically, from what I can tell, I didn't add it up. I didn't do the math. I'm just looking. But they released like 30, 40 cards. The best one sold about 50. So they probably only sold thousands of dollars of cards. They probably had revenue in the thousands, which is really rough when you've spent $7 million and you've sold $5,000 worth of cards. That is, you're losing about $7 million. You haven't exactly recouped your expenses yet. And given that a superhero TCG is an extremely hard thing to promote in the market, given that the initial month of marketing was basically non-existent other than the Twitch streams. The Twitch streams were the one thing they did do, but a general lack of marketing, a total lack of sales, a very small amount of players playing the game. Even though the people who played the game tended to have very positive opinions of the game design, and a lot of people who did play the game were really turning into super fans, there was definitely something special about the game that certain people were reacting to very strongly, which boded well for the game's future on a game design level. Unfortunately, when your game is down 7 million supposedly in 2 years and you only sell $5,000 of stuff in the first month and you only have 20, 30, 50 active users, maybe 100 if I'm being generous. I don't, when you think about all that, the sudden shutdown of Emergence TCG, it makes some sense, and it becomes pretty clear that they must have just run out of money and just hit a brick wall. Boom. No more money, can't pay the employees, can't pay for anything, can't keep the lights on. They tried to keep it going, and then they were just out. The InterPop and Emergence pages are both inactive since the announcement, so I'm pretty sure, not positive, but I'm almost positive, that there is nobody left working for InterPop and or Emergence, especially Emergence. At least for Emergence, it seems like the staff was all let go on the same day or maybe the same week as the announcement of the game shutting down, and it seems like there is literally nobody left whose job it is to field the questions of what's happening or just to explain anything. The money is gone, the team is gone, and the game itself is abandoned. It's just so weird to see $7 million spent developing a game across 2 years and then what appears to be less than $10,000 promoting it. Millions and millions of dollars in production and essentially $0 in promotion. Maybe the project was just burning money too fast, but there must have been some way to get a few more months of time for the gameplay to exist in the world and for the game to be out, to run a few tournaments, give it a chance, let them cook. As it is, it's really unfortunate in the short term because it burns the most enthusiastic people who were actually getting involved in gaming on Tezos. With other projects not being super active right now, Emergence was maybe the best thing going for Tezos gaming-wise, and the sudden shutdown of the game before any tournaments ever even ran is going to make a bad impression on the very people who could have been the power users of the Tezos ecosystem for gaming. On the other hand, the more I think about it, the more sympathy I have for the Tezos Foundation who chose to stop funding it, assuming that's what really happened. If Emergence was really burning millions of dollars a year and the project was showing little signs of success, I can understand investors panicking. I have more sympathy for the idea of no longer funding the game, even though it's still very frustrating the way that it happened and the way that it was communicated to the community. It's just a real shame to see one of Tezos' most promising gaming projects disappear so suddenly. It would have felt a lot less unreasonable if the game had run for a year, even if they didn't release a lot of new cards. Just let the game run with the current card set, give the community on Tezos the chance to game together and build some momentum. Instead, it's back to the basics as we keep waiting for a game to really spark the gaming revolution on Tezos. There are still cool projects floating around, Tezotopia, Bunny Nights, Might and Moam, and several others, but the question remains, where's the gameplay experience that will galvanize and excite the Tezos community and really make Tezos gaming start to happen so that it can bring more people into using the Tezos blockchain? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Rest in peace, Emergents TCG. Oh man, it's sad. I'm sad about it, but it is what it is. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time.